So Puti today is about Mahakachayana. If I'm not mistaken, Ty is pronounced as Kachayana. Okay. Otherwise, sound very Japanese. Katayana, Mahakatayana, Kachayana. Because the other spelling they have is CHA. Okay, saying Kachayana foremost in discussion of the doctrine. Faithfully accept the true Dharma of one vehicle, comprehend the great path, and form supreme aspiration. That's what it means to have faith and understanding. Faith and understanding illumine the Bodhi path. So let's look at what it means. So faith means faithful acceptance. I think as you know, if you've been in the spiritual path for long, and you open your mind to actually listen to some of the teachings of other paths, you understand why it is not easy to accept the Dharma. I have discourses with people of other faith, Catholics, Christians, so on and so forth. I just want to share with you two cases. One was this lady, she's a Christian, but she wanted to do a master's in theology, and obviously in Christianity particularly, and obviously she's a very devout Christian. So one of the things that they have to do that is to actually talk to people of other faith, which I thought was a very good practice for them. And so she came and talked to me about Buddhism, and obviously she talked to a few, but just to cut a long story short, when she submitted her thesis, her supervisor actually told her that the discussion she had with me, the way she's written, was quite insightful. And I explained to her about cultivation of the mind. There was many years, this was quite a number of years ago, I was still working. So the point I'm trying to say is that in the other faith, it's very easy to get into the faith and then you get salvation. But in Buddhism, you have to work for your own salvation. And that's a major difference. And then I had a conversation with one of the, he's actually now a preacher, and he's a Singaporean. And when he was residing in the US, he took up the course. And so one day I was having drinks with him, and he actually said this to me. He said, he studied all the religion, the same thing he has to study and understand the other faith. She actually told me that if there was, had to live his life again, he said if there was one religion he would choose, he said it was actually Buddhism. But he can't do it, obviously, in this life because he's sticking on that faith. He said it is not just about faith, it's about being able to open your mind and accept there's logic behind that. And this is the part that leads to the second part, which is understanding. It means penetrating comprehension. In Buddhism, you can't just have faith and then you take your salvation and then you'll be safe. But this is the penetrating comprehension. That's a major difference. So Mahakachayana was the youngest son of two royal teachers, which I don't have to touch on at your center. And the point I just want to explain a little bit. One is the Vedas. Vedas are holy scriptures of Hinduism, and they're still obviously being studied until today. Hinduism is a very old religion. It dates back to more than 5,000 years ago. And it's something that I learned a little bit from when I was in India, and I managed to meet wife of one of my partners when I was working, and she was obviously a practitioner. She's she had a fair amount of knowledge, so I had a bit of a discussion with her. and also introduced me to Jainism as well. This is the other religion in India. Now, Sita is a great sage, as you all know, and he was the one who gave the prediction of the Prince Siddhartha to become a great teacher to the world. So he's obviously for Kaccayana, obviously he was intelligent and very sharp, but then because of that, he was arrogant. And like obviously, and obviously we all have ego. If we don't have ego, we'll be dead. So, but the question is, how can one subdue the ego to become your servant instead of your master? And that is the one which is very important. Because if the ego be your master, you can never be able to learn well. But if the ego is a servant, it can serve you to drive your diligence, okay, to be in practice, especially for us as a householder. So these two attachments to self and to Dharma. I remember some time ago, I did mention to you, one of the things that we need to watch out for in our spiritual progress is attachment to the Dharma. Because once you attach to the Dharma, you won't, because if we understand about emptiness, then you will understand even in Dharma, there should be emptiness. Because if the true suchness is within yourself, then why should one be attached to the Dharma, which is external? So Dharma is to open the truth in you. So if open the truth in you, the truth is already in you. There shouldn't be attachment to what is already external. So because that is already you, if you are into the true suchness, there is no more attachment, whether to yourself or to the Dharma. And then people like this are floundering in the sea of samsara, floundering in the sea, just wandering in the sea of samsara. So by okay, so the other case was when the Buddha was traveling with the 5 ascetics, and they were trying to attain enlightenment. Obviously, they couldn't until they starved themselves so much in the meditation, and the Buddha nearly at that time, Prince Siddhartha, he nearly died in the ascetic practice. And then he came out, he was so scrawny at that time, he knew that even though he went to that extreme, he couldn't attain that. And that is the attachment to that. And when the 5 ascetics realized that he came out and started taking food, they all left him because they were still attached to what their belief was. And that is the part that, that's why we got to be also careful, because the Dharma is about the truth. And unless we get to realize what the truth is, we'll be attaching to the words. And that's why we got to be mindful about this attachment. So by realizing interdependent arising and the nature of emptiness, we are liberated and free to journey on. So this nature of emptiness, and obviously, and also our own very existence is the interdependent arising, how we arrive, because obviously we all made up all our karmic blueprint in the past. Then we only then, when we realize what the truth is, that we can be liberated and continue in our journey. So Mahakaccayana soon became a disciple of the Buddha. He was very intelligent to understand the profound teachings of the Buddha. And because of this, he was foremost in the discussion of doctrine. So each of the 10 great disciples of the Buddha, they have own foremost in certain skill. So we have Sariputra, foremost in wisdom. The Subdue, foremost in emptiness. Mahakaccayana, foremost in doctrine. And the other 2 will be coming soon, Mahakasyapa, which will be, I'm sure Master will be explaining, and the other one will be Moggallana. Moggallana, obviously, I think I shared with you all before, Moggallana foremost in psychic abilities. So we have a lot of self importance in us. So because of this, we cling on to sense of self. Even for us in practice, much that we say that we are in practice, so on and so forth, it's all about self-importance. And self-importance is nothing more than the ego, right? Because we're all self-interest. We want our views to get foremost in front of everybody else. And that's what a lot of us do. So, but recognizing it, it's the way to change. So when we learn the Buddha's way, we must first overcome ourselves so that we can truly accept the Dharma and take it to heart to be transforming with the Dharma. And that is one I've shared with you, especially for us as householder, start to get to know yourself, and then you'll be able to transform yourself. And as you find a great teacher, a great teacher to you is one who knows you more than you know yourself. And that because he or she be able to guide you. Contemplation. The practice of the teachings is to grow and evolve in virtues and wisdom, to liberate from samsara, as well as helping and guiding others along. Right, that's what we are supposed to be doing, and that's what Master has been teaching us. So every principle you realize leads to the end of suffering. How then can you be at odds with the world which is in samsara? In other words, if this realization ends the end of suffering, and how can we be at odds is that how can we then be fighting with our views to be heard? And because if we do, then to do so means that you're engaging in samsara and not living in the Dharma. So these are important practices for us to understand. And how many of us, when we engage in the Dharma, we still engage in wanting things to be done our way and how we feel, so on and so forth. But it's that very part of self-centeredness we must learn to let go. So there is emptiness in existence, and yet existence in emptiness. So in ourselves, if we enter in our own existence, is that then we should, if we understand that, we know that our very own existence is in contact with the external conditions. That's where the skandhas are. So we understand the emptiness of the skandhas. Then why are you feel still so attached to what our views, our feeling, and our mental perception is? Yet existence in emptiness. And this is the existence in emptiness is how we then realize that we will no longer be attached to what is actually delusional or illusory. So phenomenon is actually without self. So realize its emptiness and involve with the unconditioned practice. But obviously for us as householders, we are still very much be in the conditioned practice because we still live a worldly life. But that's something that we should aspire towards. So on relationship, this karmic relationship. So when one feels the pain of karmic retribution, one can choose to be wounded or be wise. But the problem is most people focus on the pain of the body than the relief through the mind. And that's what Buddhism actually teaches us to do. Okay, such is the man's worldly intelligence. So what we need to do is to have spiritual wisdom in our practice. Okay, God and brothers and sisters.
Yeah, Gan En, 先跟BrotherChin